looking so fresh. When I walk by, breaking their necks. Waiting in line at the team store. Now I'm feeling fly like a condor. Eyes on me when I walk through the door. Man, I wish I bought a couple more. Cause I really love my city. It was worth every penny. If it were at my show, then I know they gon' tip me. Think I might add a couple patches. If you think it's ugly, you capping. Now my whole outfit matching. Never going out of fashion.
Welcome on in, everybody. It is Talking Friars. I'm Ben Fadden, where we talk about the Padres. The Padres, they just swept the Colorado Rockies. They did what great teams do. Good teams win a series against teams that you should win against, right? Great teams, they sweep. And the Padres didn't just sweep, but they dominated. They did not allow the Rockies to score a run. And this is the first time in franchise history, at least according to the Petco Park Jumbotron, that there were 3 consecutive shutouts in a sweep for the Padres in franchise history. So, love to see that. Obviously, it was a great atmosphere at the ballpark today. Michael King was fantastic. I don't think there were many people that were realizing it, but he did have a no-hitter going through the 4th inning and I think into the 5th. I obviously didn't say anything to people around me because that's just how I am, but I knew it was going on. And he was at 41 pitches, I think, through 4 innings, and he was at, like, less than 80 pitches through, I wanna say, 7 innings going into the 8th, and I thought that he was gonna go 8, and then they'd give it to, like, Wandy or Logan Gillespie, someone like that, because they were up, like, 5-0 at the time, but they ended up allowing him to go over 100 pitches and get that complete game shutty. So I think that's part of Mike Schilt, and Ruben Niebla being player manager, player pitching coach, trusting those guys when they earn it, go allow them to do it. And sure, it's early in the season. I don't think that, to be honest, I wouldn't have faulted Mike Schilt for saying, no, Michael, we're just going to have you go 8 innings and you just go to a reliever because you need Michael King if you want to go far. Like Michael King is one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. I firmly believe that. And so you don't want to have him be thrown. Maybe, the Padres, let's say they would have pulled him, don't want him to be throwing over 100 pitches and we're up. It's not 1-0, up 5-0 here. Let's just put one of our low leverage relievers in. Michael, you did more than your job and you move on. You get the win, still get the sweep, and you move on. But I think this could go a long way with guys just buying in as a team and just one of those like signature wins in the Padres season, having a Michael King complete game shutout like that. So love seeing that. Obviously, offensively, I thought today there were plenty of innings where they didn't score runs, but right off the bat, dropping 4 runs there, and then you have Michael King on the mound and giving him that run support, I think only allows him further to just not be afraid to just pound that strike zone. Not that he is, but at least for me, if I had a 4-0 lead, I wouldn't be trying to nibble. I would just go at guys. If I give up a home run, okay, it's 4-1. My offense in the first inning is giving me runs. So that was great to see from the Padres. And it wasn't just big guys contributing, but it was other guys like Oscar Gonzalez, who was recently called up, and he comes in with that RBI single to make it 1-0 in the bottom of the first. And then Yuli Gurriel, he only has 3 hits, or at least through that first at bat today, 3 hits on the season. All 3 hits, RBI hits. So still somewhat of an impact. Not saying I'm the biggest Gurriel fan, but when he is getting a hit, it does count. And I think I talked about this yesterday in my post-game reaction, but Jose Iglesias, he had that RBI double, scored a couple of runs. Gonzalez and Gurriel made it 4-0 there. Padres did add on, obviously, a couple more runs. Iglesias, I don't know. I was saying the other night, I just don't know how much are we going to be missing Jake Cronenworth. And that's not to tear Croney down. Like, anyone that knows me knows that I'm a big Croney fan, but more to hype up Iglesias, like to prop Iglesias up because of how good of a player he is and the value that he can give to this team. Defensively, you're not losing something. And then offensively, sure, I think Crony obviously has more of the power potential, but Iglesias can hit for average and he can still have competitive at bats. This is a big league vet that we're talking about here. So I'm pretty sure I said this the other night as well. Tatis or Crony, who would you rather have out? The answer is Crony. You obviously don't want anyone out, but the Padres dodged a little bit of a bullet there, I guess, if you will, with Tatis not being hurt with that shoulder injury. And then obviously he has back-to-back nights with a home run in games 1 and game 2 of this series, the two-hand follow-through. It wasn't two-hand follow-through the entire time in this series. I want to point that out, obviously. But he's healthy. Made some good catches, sliding catch, ball up against the wall last night. So that's a big takeaway for me this series that, all right, Tatis is healthy. We have a Merrill and Darvish update that I do want to give right now before I forget. And also, I saw from Jeff Sanders, he tweeted out essentially as I was going live here, Brandon Lockridge, he exited today's game. And I was wondering why, because it was, 5-6, nothing, whatever it was. And Tyler Wade went into the game playing in center field. And it's like, why would you take Lockridge out to put Tyler Wade in when you have this big lead? It's not like you're putting a better defensive player out there in center field. Like in center field, I want Locke out there. But Jeff Sanders says here, where is it? Already down Jackson Merrill, center field a question after the Padres. Brandon Lockridge exits with a low-grade hamstring strain. Doesn't seem to be severe. I know that if I babied it, I could have maybe stayed out there. That's what Lockridge is saying. So that's not great. I think Lockridge has been big for the Padres this season. Obviously not, offensively with the bat a ton, but he's had some moments, and I think he's been solid in center field. Should have thrown out a guy in Sacramento in that day game this past week. Yeah, low-grade hamstring strain after an ultrasound revealed inflammation but no serious muscle damage. Lockridge said, a best-case scenario given the circumstances, which is obviously very good. Figures to be day-to-day and kind of see how it feels tomorrow when some of the adrenaline and night of sleep passes. So we have Merrill dealing with the hamstring. We got Lockridge dealing with the hamstring. Hopefully it's not as bad as Merrill, obviously. And that brings me to the update on Jackson Merrill. And that is like there's not a lot to talk about there. I would lean that he doesn't return on the 18th like I thought he initially was going to. Jeff Sanders yesterday, before the Padres win, was talking about Jackson Merrill and him and Manny going out there, receiving their Silver Slugger awards behind home plate. And that was all that they obviously saw of Jackson Merrill. 10-day IL, right hamstring strain. He was on the IL, put on the IL on Tuesday. He is doing pool work, but not yet swinging a bat or really doing anything remotely explosive. Schultz said, as we progress, it'll start to ramp up, hopefully sooner than later, but we're going to take our time. And they should. I mean, it's a long season. The Padres are, 13-3. Please don't be rushing this. Yeah, don't need you to be rushing this, Jackson. They're still in a good spot. I know Jackson's going to be he wants to be out there because that's who he is. But yeah, you don't want to be taking this too fast and then you have to explode on something that you're not thinking about during a game because that's just your natural reaction out there in center field or on the bases or something. And then you hurt it and then you're out for an even longer period of time. So that's not the best update that right now it's pool work. But I'm also not a doctor. I'm not a trainer, so I don't totally know. Is this the expected timeline? Is this what everyone in the building thought he was going to be doing at this point in time? Jackson, I don't think he needs a ton of at-bats to be ready to go if he is going to come off on the 18th, which is coming up on Friday. That's the first game that he would be eligible to come off the IL for against the Astros. If he doesn't, there's still talent in this lineup, as we've seen. We'll see about Lockridge, but even if Lockridge isn't able to go, Tyler Wade, as much as I feel like some fans aren't the biggest fans of Tyler Wade, he can still provide you something. In the field, I think he'll be fine out there in center. And there's other guys that have been playing some center field as well, trying to increase their versatility as well. Tyler Wade, by the way, he was playing center field in AAA not too long ago before he got called up to kind of give him that experience. I think Eggy Rosario down in AAA was playing some center field as well. I'm not saying the Padres would be like, yeah, let's go put Eggy as the starting center fielder every day, but just trying to throw out some options there if Lockridge ends up not being able to play. But look, left field, when you've got Jason Hayward a lot of the time playing in left field, and then you've got Tatis in right, you've got good corner outfield defense. And whoever's going to be in center, I don't think it's going to be this huge, like, oh my gosh, here we go. So that's the update on Jackson. Again, doing pool work, not yet swinging a bat or really doing anything remotely explosive. That right there, remotely explosive, that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, let's lower my expectations, and maybe he doesn't return on the 18th. But we still, this was written yesterday, so what did he do today? He still has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, Thursday's the day off, but he could still do something on Thursday. So there's still time where he can rehab, around the clock if that's what he's doing, keep doing that work, and then progress. I don't think that they're going to send him on a rehab assignment. It's Jackson Merrill. You can put him in the lineup. As long as he's good, then you can put him in the lineup. I'm not worried about that. Now, the Yu Darvish update, he threw 11 pitches to a catcher standing up in the bullpen yesterday. Nowhere near full intensity, but it's a step forward. Kevin Acee wrote in his Padres Daily, I believe, this morning, Darvish will need at least a new full intensity turn, at least a few, full intensity turns in the bullpen and some combination of 2 or 3 minor league starts and a simulated game, multiple simulated games before returning, which means his season debut would come no sooner than mid-May. Which, at the beginning of the season, we'd be like, because I was at least hoping, maybe he'll miss a few weeks, not a couple months. Month and a half, whatever it may be. But the way that this rotation is pitching in, actual baseball weather, not in the mid-40s at Wrigley, Nick Pivetta is pitching really well. Randy Vasquez has had good starts. Kyle Hart is pitching well in San Diego. Michael King just had a complete game shutty. Dylan Cease, obviously in Sacramento, there were questions, but I would assume that he's going to bounce back in his next outing, which I believe is tomorrow against the Cubs. So this rotation obviously didn't allow a run this series. And when they have been pitching in baseball weather, they have been pitching well. And that's where they're going to be playing in coming up this next series. And I'm not super worried about where this rotation is at right now. And it's because they have earned that because of how they have been pitching. So with Darvish, it's sort of like Merrill where you want them in there, of course, but take your time. The Padres, they're 13-3, the best record in baseball. It's a long season. We need them for the most important times of the season. And there's other guys that are performing where their absence isn't as felt as much. If the Padres lost this series to the Rockies, we probably would be talking more about, the absence of Jake Cronenworth, the absence of Jackson Merrill, specifically Jackson Merrill. If the rotation has been sucking it up, especially Kyle Hart and Randy Vasquez, and I'm like every start, including the starts in San Diego. I'm throwing out the Chicago one, but I'm talking about the San Diego starts. If they were struggling there, then we probably would be like, it would be nice to have someone like Yu Darvish. Matt Waldron was placed on the transferred to the 60-day IL, so with the oblique strain. So it's going to be a while there. But and give credit to AJ Preller. I'm wearing my AJ Preller is a Legend t-shirt right now, actually, that I believe is still available on the Breaking Tea website. You can check that out. But, credit to Preller, to Niebla, to Schilt, to the hitting coaches, for guys that have come in and helped lessen the blow of some of these star players not playing. Whether that's Gavin Sheets offensively, or it's Jason Hayward the other night offensively, or I know Yuli Gurriel, it hasn't been a ton, but he has had a few RBIs, or it's the star players like Tatis homering a couple games in a row, or it's the starting pitching, Michael King, and even the back guys like a Kyle Hart performing and bouncing back and giving some length. And not even like 7 innings, but even if he goes 5 shutout innings for Kyle Hart, you're still helping this team win games, because 5 shutout innings, boom, you're giving the Padres a chance to win, a really good chance to win. And especially on nights where the bullpen's fresh and you can go to your 4 high leverage guys, Kyle Hart, you did your job there to go 5 shutout innings, maybe even more than your job. I know he would have higher standards than that, but for a back-end starter, I want at least 5 innings, 2 or less runs, keep the Padres in the game, because the offense can score some runs. And yeah, so it's just been a lot of different contributors. And then obviously with the bullpen, with Wandy Peralta bouncing back so far this year, Yuki Matsui looking confident, and then obviously Morhone, Estrada, Adam being nasty, Suarez, all these guys pitching in wins this season. Love to see it. It's just been this start. It's not like it's been a couple of guys that have showed out above everybody else, and it's like, okay, they're carrying the team. I'm seeing a team winning baseball games. I'm not saying individuals win baseball games. I'm seeing a team win baseball games. Today, for example, where you had Michael King, sure, carried, right? Complete game shutout, but you still needed runs. And you had some of the others, like Jose Iglesias, Oscar Gonzalez, guys like that, Yuli Gurriel. You had some of the others, not the Manny, not the Tatis. I'm not saying they didn't do anything, because they did, but you had the others come through. Xander Bogaerts is someone that I think deserves a lot of props. I don't know how much he's going to be talked about on sports talk radio, because maybe the focus is going to be on Tatis with him coming back and him being healthy, and the focus on the starting pitching. I don't know what the focus is going to be. I'm not on sports radio, but I can talk about what I want to talk about. And Xander Bogaerts is one of the guys that I want to give some love to, because it's real easy to crap on the guy when he's making a ton of money and, oh, he doesn't live up to the contract and all that. But when he is performing like this, I don't think he's being talked about much. But the guy, bottom line, he's hitting .304 with a .778 OPS, 8 runs scored, 5 runs driven in. He had a really good road trip through Chicago and Sacramento, and he continues to hit the ball pretty darn hard. So I just want to shout him out and give him some love, because I'm sure mentally it's been a little bit tough for him, because he knows the money that he signed for, and you think that he wants to suck, or not suck, but like maybe suck for the contract or suck for his standards, because I'm sure he has high standards for himself. And what I mean by that is, like, it's, to me, it's not, Hosmer bad, but just not to the level that we want it to be when he's making $280 million over this 11-year contract. And there's been injuries. Injuries totally have been a part of that for Bogey. But for this year to come in healthy, he's using his legs. He's not the best defensive shortstop, but he's not the worst. And offensively, I've seen him barrel a lot of balls this year. And he should have some more home runs, but, some balls get knocked down at Wrigley, and he'd be having an even better year numbers-wise so far. I know it's only April 13th, but I just want to shout out Bogey, because I just don't know how many people are going to be talking about him and the start that he's off to, because and this is a credit to the other guys, the other groups, other parts of this team. There's a lot to talk about the success of this Padres team. And so I feel like maybe Xander could get overlooked because he's not hitting the homers that Tatis is. And he has been a little bit disappointing in his Padres tenure. And again, part of that is just him missing time with injuries, with the wrist, shoulder. So for him to come through like this to start this season, and look, he had a good start. What was that? 2023. He had a really good April, and I think he had a really good September. But what happened in between that? So he's got to keep doing it. But as of now, I think he deserves his props for sure. I totally went off into a different direction there. I was talking about injury updates, and so Darvish again threw 11 pitches to a catcher standing up in the bullpen yesterday. Nowhere near full intensity, but it is a step forward. I know I already talked about this, but I just want to mention it again because I kind of veered off there. But no sooner than mid-May. But again, with how well this starting pitching is doing, and this will bring me to the other performances from this weekend. How well the starting pitching is doing, it's for me, it's even more like, all right, Darvish, yeah, take your time. You're going to be good. It's okay. By the way, if you want to hopefully you are enjoying the show. If you want to join the show, I am putting the link in the chat right now. There it is. Just put it in there. If you want to join and give any of your thoughts on the Padres so far this season, the sweep that they just had of the Rockies. And again, this is what, in my opinion, great teams do, is they smash an opponent. They smash a bad team. They don't win 2 or 3. They don't lose the series for sure. They don't go 5-8 against the Rockies. They take care of business. They sweep them. They don't allow any runs. That's what I feel like we see the Dodgers do a lot. 2 bad teams. And so it's great to see the Padres be able to do that. And it was awesome to watch that 16-0 loss the other night. Yikes. Anyway, Michael King today, it seemed like he was just so efficient. Sure, he did strike out 8 guys, but he limited the walks, 1 walk, just 2 hits, no runs, obviously. And it was a lot of contact that maybe it seemed a little bit loud because I was at the game, so maybe it was a little bit loud off the bat. But I never thought that, once I saw the trajectory of the ball, there was no way it was going out. It was just a fly out to the outfield. All good. Jamming guys and just weak pop up to Manny on the infield. Little things like that. I want to say he got a couple double play balls. One, Nick Martini. Got him to ground into a double play. What I love to see, though, is you see the Padres 5 for 14 with runners in scoring position, which is okay, third of the time. You'd like to be a little bit better. But you go over to the other side on the box score, Colorado, and there is no team runner in scoring position stat because they didn't have any. That's how dominant Michael King was. And obviously the Padres, I think they've been pretty darn good defensively this year. And it doesn't matter who you hit it to. Pretty confident in the guys that they're putting out there. Manny, obviously. Bogaerts, he's not the worst defensive shortstop in the league. He can make some plays. At second base, whether it's Crony or it's Iglesias, confident there. First base, I think it's been fine. Urias has had some where it's learn where to, put your foot on the bag. But I think it's been okay. And in the outfield, hit it anywhere. And I am confident because the outfield's been pretty good. Sure, the one thing that sticks out was Oscar Gonzalez. But that was the first play coming off the airplane in Sacramento, walking across the field, gets put into left field because of an injury, and boom, ball gets hit at him, and it goes under his glove. And he's not known for his defense anyway. But if most of the time when you have Hayward out there, you have Lockridge or Merrill, and then Tatis and Wright, obviously, with the platinum that he has, pitchers can attack the zone and be like, yeah, I'll pitch to contact, like Michael King was able to do pretty darn good today. And what some other guys have done pretty darn good, including Kyle Hart. And I loved in Kevin Acey's Padres Daily, his newsletter earlier this morning, talking about yesterday, Maldonado, I don't believe he had caught Kyle Hart. It was Elias Diaz that did. But Diaz caught for King today, and they didn't want Diaz to go day game after a night game. And so they went with Maldonado. And Kevin wrote about how Martin Maldonado started working with Kyle Hart a few days earlier, going into Saturday's start, so that they could get to know each other. Actually, Kevin is saying that this happened before they knew that they would even be battery mates together for the first time. On Tuesday in Sacramento, Maldonado took the time to talk to Hart, who 2 days earlier had admittedly been embarrassed by his performance in what was just his 5th MLB start. Obviously, the Chicago start where couldn't throw enough strikes. Yes, the weather has to be mentioned there, obviously, because go look at the other outings when the weather hasn't been a factor. I mean, look at Nick Pivetta as well. It's not just a Kyle Hart thing. I know he doesn't want to use that as an excuse, and Pivetta doesn't either, but as a Padres fan, I'm going to mention that because it's only right to mention that. But Hart said, Maldonado, he talked to me in Sacramento a little bit just about who I am as a pitcher, what my identity is, and I think it kind of showed through a little bit tonight. I'm not naive to know where he was going with this message, but I absorbed it and let it help me instead of just deflecting. It's exactly what I needed. Sometimes the most obvious thing is the thing you need to hear. And this is what, it's not just Kyle Hart. I forget who it was, but other pitchers have kind of said the same thing about Maldonado just being blunt and honest to them about, yeah, you're sucking right now. This is what needs to happen. And this is a vet. And have I had some fun about Mike Schilt comparing Maldonado to Yadi Molina with the IQ and all that? Yeah. But is he wrong about the IQ part? Obviously, we look at Yadi Molina and Maldonado, the playing in their career. Obviously, you can't compare that. But the IQ part, I mean, that's up for debate because, I mean, that's not just stats, right? And Maldonado, and I see some fans clamoring for Campy because he keeps hitting homers in El Paso, but it's like there's offense in other parts of this order. And when you have Diaz and Maldonado on this roster, you don't have to worry about pitchers, their relationships with the catchers when those two guys are your catchers. To me, Campy not being on it on the opening day roster was the signal yeah, Mike Schilt, he doesn't trust Campy as much as he trusts Maldonado and Diaz. And what I've seen so far, I mean, when you're at the game, you can see some things that you can't see on TV. So, for example, today, I know this isn't Maldonado, but this was Diaz today. Michael King would get a fly out to right field. And right when Nando catches it, I look at King. And King is communicating with Diaz, not verbally, but with his hands. He kind of motioned to, I think, the left, or it doesn't matter, whatever. But essentially, it seemed like he was talking to Diaz, with his hands about, was that where you wanted it? Was it inside enough? Something like that. Or was it outside enough? Wherever the pitch location was, because from where I see it, I can't tell great where the location exactly of the pitch was. But they're communicating. And I love to see that. It's even when Michael King is dominating, there's that communication there. And it's the same thing with Maldonado. I think Maldonado has done a pretty good job at stealing some strikes this year as well. So would you want 20 homers from your catcher? Sure. But the situation the Padres are in, I brought up that Kyle Hart thing because the veteran leadership with those catchers and just being smart behind the plate and communicating and telling the pitcher what he needs to hear, that's going to help the pitcher get better and get back on track when he's not on track. And so these two guys, another shout out moment, because those two guys, even if they're not going to get all the praise, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge those two guys because I've totally noticed the impact that they've had already on this team. Maldonado, by the way, finishing about this Kyle Hart thing, Communication is key in this game, Maldonado said. As a catcher, you have to be ready to serve. Nobody felt worse about what happened on Sunday than him. Just to be able to be part of what he did today was pretty big. Um, going back to like the catcher pitcher relationships on this team so far, Michael King was doing his post game with Scan today, and he was called to do it, and he brought Diaz. Diaz was not called up to do it. Michael King brought Diaz up to go do that interview with Scan post game. So like King wanting to acknowledge Diaz and just the love that it seems like this clubhouse has for each other already. Obviously, they're winning, so that helps. But I think that's something to note, and I think that's big. So shout out to Kyle Hart. Shout out to Michael King. Shout out to the bullpen's been freaking nasty this year. Maldonado, Diaz. Personally, I'm loving that catching combination. I am. And, Kyle Hart, I thought he did a really good job at pitching. I think Pomerantz said that on the post game last night, and I agree. Pitching, not throwing, but pitching. Hitting his spots. He wasn't walking guys. 6 innings, 1 hit, no walks. And then obviously that Chicago outing that he had in, mid 40s, he didn't even make it through the first inning. He walked 4 guys. So bouncing back, getting back on the right track, the care factor obviously is there. So love to see it. Obviously, I gave my post-game reactions already to games 1 and games 2, but just going over it again, Tatis had that homer in the first yesterday. This is the 2-0 one I'm talking about. Hayward with that homer, turning around that 97-mile-per-hour fastball when fans say, wish you could hit the fastball. Boom, there you go. Not saying that makes up for, the whole season and he can just, stink it up the rest of the year. But it was good to see the others contribute and just have this overall team sweep of the Rockies. And Hayward as like a bench player, I think that's valuable to have, and someone that plays not as often, but I'm fine with him still playing. But my point is, like, I don't think that he's the best offensive option in left field all the time, but there's still talent there. Obviously, there's a reason why he's still in the big leagues. And let's just look at the Padres' track record recently of these veteran guys that talented, and the Padres give them a chance. And look what happens, right? You look at David Peralta last year, who's still a free agent, by the way, but you look at David Peralta, Jurickson Profar, obviously, with the multiple shots that the Padres have given him and what he did, obviously. Donovan Solano, not outfield, but still, like, minor league deal, and then look what happened there. Gavin Sheets comes in. I want to say that was a minor league deal. He's had an impact. I know it's April 13th, but still, I want to throw that out there. And so, again, like, this Padres front office knows what they're doing. And while I'll probably still question some things at the time, I hope at least, I don't question them as much as others sometimes, because I want to give the front office the benefit of the doubt, because the track record recently has been pretty darn good at this sort of stuff. And, Hayward, there's solid defense in left field. So happy for him that he was able to turn on that ball and have that moment. Bullpen, great. Estrada, Adam Suarez last night. Suarez now 7 saves on the year. Hasn't allowed any runs. Jason Adam hasn't allowed any earned runs either. Lost Tanner Scott, but you have Wandy bounce back so far. Yuki's pitching well, confident. Morahone obviously has a lefty in that pen. It's not like there's been a bunch of additions to this bullpen. It's the Padres continuing to make some tinkers with these guys, but also trust them and have that confidence in them. And just this bullpen's been lights out. It's been fun to watch. Game 1 of this series, Padres won it 8-0. Again, some of the others, Jose Iglesias had that RBI single early on. Elias Diaz RBI single. Tatis homer in the 6th. That made it 7-0. But yeah, making things happen. When you're playing a bad team, make them make good plays. Make them throw you out. And Tatis, forcing the issue. Multiple guys forcing the issue, and then the Rockies just airmailing balls. I don't know why they kept trying to pick the second base. It was 5-0 today, and the Rockies tried to pick the second base at one point, and it's just like focus on the batter. Maybe just focus on the batter. But the Padres take everything, give them nothing, and they did a much better job of that this series than they did, for example, over the road trip, but specifically that Chicago series. But again, with how they've played since then, I am way more willing to throw out that Chicago series with the weather and everything, just how bizarre that was. Way more willing to just toss that out as an outlier and be like, no, this is more like who this Padres team is. Manny roped a ball on that breaking ball. That one made it 5-0. Iglesias had 2 RBIs in that one inning. It is still a little bit mind-boggling when you think about it that Iglesias signed here on a minor league deal. Sure, he probably was assured, like, yeah, you're going to make the opening day roster, and that's why he came, and probably why he was so confident day one in spring training, which I wasn't the biggest fan of at the time, and I still stand by that. But it's a talented player and versatile, impactful, and I enjoy him being in a Padre uniform. But I'm just surprised that no other team gave him a major league deal. And he ended up having to settle during spring training on a minor league deal with the Padres. To me, that seems a little bit nuts. For a guy that played in over 80 games last year, hit over 300, and plays multiple positions, the major league vet that he is, and no team was like, yeah, we'll give you a major league deal. I mean, that's thank you to Major League Baseball, right? But yeah, he's already had an impact. Oscar Gonzalez has already had an impact since being called up when Merrill went on the IL. Nick Pivetta, 7 innings, no runs, 1 walk, 10 punch-outs. Another guy that bounced back, and he is someone that attacks the zone as well. 62 of his 88 pitches were for strikes. What percentage is that? Over 70% for strikes. Oh, yeah, I'll take that. Yuki Matsui has a 1.5 ERA so far this season. 6 innings, 12 strikeouts. A whip under 0.85. It's when you get experience at the big league level, this is probably with like every job maybe in life, probably everything in sports. Going into something that you've never been a part of, you're probably nervous and maybe you don't perform as well. But once you get that experience and you do it, and maybe you're not successful all the time, but you do it, that's going to give you confidence that like, all right, I can do it. Now let's just keep doing it consistently. And I'm here. All right, I know what I'm going to do. I know what spring training is going to look like. I know what the beginning of the season is going to look like. I know what being a big leaguer is like. And I think Yuki I think he's already more comfortable in going into this second year. And I'm sure that there's been adjustments made. I can't speak to those unless someone writes about it. But this bullpen has been it's the best bullpen in baseball. And I'm pretty sure I said that at some point, and people were saying that at some point last season. And then there were some ups and downs. It's a long year. I was saying this about Bogaerts, about his hot start. Let's see if he can do it consistently. But all I can talk about is what this team has done so far. And so far, there is a ton of things to be excited about. And speaking of things to be excited about, John, excited to see you pop on here, man. What's up?
Nothing much, man. Excited that this year is off to a great start. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't hear you for some reason, but yeah, it's a great time to be a Padres fan. It's a great time to put our worries away, I guess, in terms of where they're at. And also, I think I don't know. It's just good all around. I mean, it's funny. I'm came on here to talk about certain things that I wanted to complain about, but I'm also like, I can't really complain. Honestly, it's been really, really good. I think the one thing that kind of comes to my mind is, I guess the defense is a little bit different, considering that we don't have Ha-Seong Kim anymore. But at the same time, I mean, winners find ways to win, as Mike Schilt always says. And
winners find solutions. Yeah.
winners find solutions. Exactly. Grit squad. And I think it's just one of those things, man. I just can't believe it. I mean, I just can't believe looking at the standings, and I know it is super, super early, and I think a lot of things can change. But to be honest with you, it's a little surreal to see not only the Padres at first, but also the Giants in second and the Dodgers in third, considering how much money they've spent, and I guess just how much talent they have on their team too. You know what I mean? And just the NL West as a whole being an absolute bloodbath of what it is. Good to know that Charlie Blackmon is gone, and he was the final thorn in this Rockies series that was keeping us from winning so many games against them. And yeah, the Rockies are a terrible organization. I mean, I don't know what's going on. They have a young core, just can't seem to figure it out. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with the future of their team, but all signs are looking good. I got to say to any Padre fan watching this right now, I mean, cherish this moment. Seriously. Like, I know 2024 was a magical season, and believe me, I catch myself watching old highlights from last season, and that was a lot of fun. But cherish this moment right now, because it is truly a good time to be a San Diego Padre fan, honestly.
Yeah, you talk about the NL West, and it is interesting, where we sit right now. Although Padres haven't played the Dodgers yet, Dodgers also, I believe, haven't played the Giants yet.
Those have been good
And
series.
so, that leaves obviously all of those matchups to come, and so that'll be exciting as well. And the Dodgers, I believe, Snell's on the IL, Freddie Freeman was on the IL.
Yep.
Some people are trying to make them into like, oh, maybe they're not the juggernaut. I saw Brian Kenny talking about that the other day.
It's
Whatever.
interesting though, because I think, I mean, obviously I'm keeping track. I mean, I'm playing fantasy baseball, so I have to pay attention to other teams now. But it's interesting, I guess, to see the dynamics of the Padres, Phillies, and Dodgers. And I know this is a Padres heavy, podcast or whatever. But it's interesting to see that these are very top heavy lineups, essentially, even on the Dodgers, where you're having the top six guys, each of these respective teams just do so well, and their pitching is outstanding. But again, once you get to that bottom of the order, are they going to get a hit? We'll see what happens. They're easily interchangeable with the kind of depth that they have talent-wise. So, we'll see what happens with those NL West series. Same thing with the Giants, I would argue. I mean, a lot of it is like these younger guys. I mean, Willie Adames hasn't quite figured it out yet, and Matt Chapman is definitely a thing. But we'll see. Again, a lot of these are top heavy lineups for sure, and we'll see the longevity of each team, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously health is a big thing with all of these teams, not just the Padres. Have you heard like this narrative that's like, oh well, these other teams are better set up if injuries happen than the Padres to, be able to still be a postseason team and have that success? I mean, I can see like, okay, if Manny goes down, if Tatis goes down, but we've seen some injuries already here, and sure, it's very short sample. Like, let's say Merrill's out for a longer period of time, and then we'll see what happens there with the replacements and all that. But what I see is Oscar Gonzalez. That's someone that can fill in. I think he could still be a David Peralta-ish type of guy. I know it's from the right side, but you get my point. Jose Iglesias, he can still be more than serviceable. I mean, I feel like he would be a starting infielder on other rosters, and teams didn't want to pay him, or I don't know what happened there. Maybe he wanted to go to a contender and not the Rockies or something. But like, there's guys here that can keep this team afloat. I still feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think
clearly it's already happened. I mean, they're 13-3, so they're doing it as of now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think every year we're certainly rolling the dice. I mean, this seems to be the Padres' MO going forward, I guess, and that you know, this team front office has not been the most transparent, I guess, in terms of a lot of things, and they have
Yeah.
said on record that they are going to be a top 10 payroll going forward, right? Even with this transition, even with this lawsuit between the owners and Shield Seiler and stuff like that. Um, you know, their word is their word at the end of the day. And to me, it just seems like the success of 2024 is going to be the success driver of 2025, where they're going to just bargain hunt for veteran talent, if not some talent that was kind of taken aback, and they're just going to throw them into the system. And hopefully, our coaching staff and our development teams are able to kind of find something within them that other teams didn't quite find. And so that seems to be the MO, and I'm with you on that. I'm looking at Iglesias and I'm like, my goodness, I think it's crazy just the season he had, and no other team is picking up, like the Twins or Tampa Bay or, just something. So I think a lot of this choice is based off them at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure he got a lot of offers, but he probably just wanted to be with the Padres at the end of it. So I'm okay with that. I mean, I'll take it. Yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, if Cronenworth, like I said, Cronenworth's out for a while. I mean, I like Cronenworth. I wish him nothing but the best success and everything like that. But hey, man, these bargain guys are hitting, like Oscar Gonzalez and everybody like that. Like last year, I'm for it. Let's go. Let's ride.
Yep, for sure. All right, John. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. All right. Before I get to David, I do see you in there, David. I did want to shout out some of the great partners of this show. Gaglione Bros, Famous Cheesesteaks, and Garlic Fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. Check them out. They're also at Petco Park, so if you're going to go to the Padres Cubs series coming up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're going to be down the third baseline, and they're also in the upper deck as well. They've got 2 locations at Petco, and then they're inside Snapdragon Stadium as well. So when SDFC is back home or when Wave is back home, unfortunately both clubs lost this weekend, but they are there as well. And then also I want to introduce to you a new partner, the newest partner of the show, and that is Freestyle Cut and Stitch. And for those, I feel like a lot of Padres fans do already know what this brand is, but they are a San Diego based brand that makes those basketball jerseys that Padres players wear. Joe Musgrove, he loves those jerseys. Jackson Merrill. And these are guys that have supported this brand themselves. They're not just, given the gifts by Sean. Talked to Sean, and great guy. Not just given by the company, but they actually support. And so I hope that San Diegans, you will go support as well. Click that link in the description for the website, and you can follow them on Instagram and just check out all their great stuff. There's new releases that come out pretty frequently. I believe they just released Gavin Sheets, one of the basketball jerseys there, and then Nick Pivetta, and there's obviously Tatis and Merrill, and there's a lot of different designs. There's City Connect colorways and 1998 colorway and brown and gold, different brown and gold styles. And so I definitely recommend you to check them out. Again, Freestyle Cut and Stitch, a new partner of the show. I will be getting some, and I'll be wearing some on the show, so we will actually have the physical representation. But again, you can go see their Instagram and see some of the great stuff that they have. You will get 10% off when you use code Talking Friars on any future orders. So if you want to go try that out today, that would be awesome. I'd love that. And it's supporting a San Diego brand. There's a lot of companies out there that aren't based in San Diego. They still make great stuff. Like Breaking Tea is one of the partners. They, if you're more of a shirt person, like I'm wearing right now, actually, you can go to Breaking Tea and get some Padres swag as well. But this is a San Diego brand, born and raised San Diegan, and so hopefully that will motivate you to go support as well. And again, the players, they love wearing those. I'm sure you've seen Musgrove, Manny, Merrill. Profar was a big fan of them last year, so go check them out. And then SeatGeek, code Talking Friars, $20 off your first order when you sign up with the code, again, Talking Friars. Sign up with your email, and you will get $20 off your first order there. All right, let's go to David here. He joins the show after the Padres sweep the Rockies, a dominant sweep. They're the best team in baseball right now. And David, what's up, man? How's it going?
Going great. Man, it's been a while since I've been on here. I've missed it. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I know all of us were questioning this Padres team. Like, can we continue what we did last year with all the signings of Jason Hayward and Iglesias? And I mean, I don't know what we were thinking. Like, this team is the same team as the second half of last year. We're winning games, we're doing the small stuff right, taking everything, giving them nothing. I mean, it's just this team is just playing really great baseball.
Yeah. And most of the time, again, like that Chicago series, with how this team is playing, I'm more willing to throw that out than I was obviously at the time. And it was still frustrating to watch. But yeah, team baseball, doing the little things, putting pressure on the other team. If they're going to throw you out, they're going to throw you out and they'll make a good play and you tip your cap and you move on. But there's a lot of times where they're not going to make the perfect play. And you're going to be able to capitalize on that. And that's just going to put even more pressure on the offense, on their offense when they get back up to the plate. And by the way, you're facing Michael King, or you're facing Nick Pivetta, or Kyle Hart, or Randy Vasquez, or Dylan Cease, or the bullpen, and that's not very fun. And so yeah, it's definitely been a fun watch. Today was a fun watch. This whole series was fun. And I know it's the Rockies, and I'm sure there's going to be some that are going to be like, oh well, it was the Rockies, and they're going to want to try to spin this negatively, which I sort of understand. But as a Padres fan, I don't have to be negative. And at 13-3, I'm not going to sit here and just, try to question things. This team deserves their praise right now.
Yeah, especially the pitching staff. I mean, they are just dominating out there. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of strikeouts, not very many walks. It's crazy. It's like Ruben Niebla is just so like masterful of how he does this. Like, I don't even understand how you get pitchers this good. Like, I understand they have talent and stuff, but like it takes a special kind of someone to get the talent out of the players and get them to perform at this level.
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting combination because you obviously have Ruben, you have the Point Loma, Nazarene pitching lab, but you also have guys, think about it, you have guys that are coming over that haven't, fully latched on in, their big league career, if you will, and had these like all-star seasons or had, these big money deals, right? Jeremiah Estrada or Kyle Hart coming back over to the big leagues after he really struggled. There are different guys here that are motivated and they, there's different motivations here, but they're like, yeah, I can play for a contender. Ruben Niebla, with the track record that he has, going back to his Cleveland days, just finding ways to get better. And this team wants to find ways to get better. And then you have guys like Michael King, Dylan Cease, who are fighting for that big contract. So I think it just adds up. There's a lot of different things here that I think contribute to it. It's not all Ruben, by the way. Obviously, there's Ben Fritz and there's other guys that are, in this organization that are helping with this. But obviously, Ruben is, the front-facing person because he's the pitching coach. But yeah, a lot of credit goes to the players that are putting in this work. But yeah, AJ, I've said this before, but like the bullpen's been that strong suit of him, and we're continuing to see that here. And I know again, it's the beginning of the season, but it's continuing a trend, a really good trend here for the Padres.
Yeah, and another guy who deserves high praise is Victor Rodriguez, because this offense, not only with the pitching staff, it's just they're scoring runs, they're doing the small things, they're bunting the runnings over. Like, it's just the things that like you see good teams like the Dodgers and the Cubs and the Phillies do, we're doing, and it's working, and it's how you win games. Like, people say, oh, bunting. Some people don't like bunting, like it's Bush League and some of the small stuff, but like that's what wins you games. Like when you can't score across runs, you need one run, and you bunt that runner over. That's how you win games. It's not about the long ball sometimes. That's the small stuff is what matters.
Yeah, I mean, Elias Diaz, yeah, you talk about that. Elias Diaz was doing that. I forget exactly what game, but I'm pretty sure that was the first homestand at some point where it was like first and second and he lays down a bunt. and he's the catcher. And you don't really see catchers doing that too much, but literally just doing whatever it takes, whatever is necessary. I go back to, I know Jackson's on the IL, but part of why I love him and why everyone loves him is just because of the team player that he is. He's hitting sac flies and he gets out, but guess what? He is super pumped up because he sees a runner come score. Today, Tatis grounds into a double play. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but based on the situation, there was no outs, runner on third, grounds into a double play. A run still scores. And just those things add up, obviously, and you can't take those runs away. You can't take these wins away. And the teams that do those little things are usually the teams that make the postseason, and that could be the difference in you winning postseason games and losing postseason games.
Yeah, and still on the offense, I mean, the injuries to Cronenworth and Merrill and now Lockridge, I mean, they're not like super bad as of now, but you never know with hamstrings. They can bug you for a long time. It's like you can think you're coming back and then like they just flare up again. And of course with Cronenworth's rib, I hope he's okay because I mean, getting hit by a 90 plus mile an hour pitch is not fun. But like I would want to see Preller if this becomes, and hopefully it doesn't, a bigger issue with the outfield because guys like Gonzalez aren't gonna like be hit forever. I would like to see him maybe acquire not like a big bat, but like maybe a smaller complementary outfield bat that can like become like an everyday, just in case like we need another outfielder.
Yeah, there's a guy named David Peralta that kind of fits that. he's still out there. I'm pretty sure, unless he signed somewhere that I haven't heard of. But yeah, he's still out there, and obviously Preller, he he goes about everything. He will try to uncover every player out there. So totally could be, but it also could come from the minor leagues. Do they give Terso a shot? Eggy play the outfield. There's different guys that could come up. So maybe they try that option before they go, with another acquisition. They go that route. But yeah, it also is April 13th though, so like it still feels weird for me to even bring up potential additions. Like, oh, maybe add this bat. Like they're 13-3. I know that people can be frustrated about Hayward or just you're just not going to get the production maybe that you want. Or what we had from Profar and Higgy combined. You're not going to get that from those two spots this year. But like I've said before, got other guys being healthy, having a rise here the whole season. Other guys, Manny being healthy, Tatis, like Bogaerts, if he can continue to hit like this, that can make up for that. And you play fundamentally good baseball. That also will help. And so, yes, the Padres will always look to improve, and they're going to before the deadline. But here in April, I'm really pleased with just the team effort so far. Oscar Gonzalez is someone else as well that I probably should have just mentioned right now. That what is he going to do with the chances that he will get now? Probably pretty consistently when Hayward's not in the lineup.
Yeah, and I think that's going back to like the author, like Manny Machado being healthy, Tatis being healthy. That's one thing a lot of us probably overlooked. It's like, yes, like you said, we're not going to get the Profar Higashioka production from those two spots, but what we also have is a healthy Tatis, hopefully for the whole season. Hopefully his shoulder doesn't mess up again. We have a healthy Manny. We have a healthier Rise. Like we have our big players are healthy. And they're healthier than last year. They're going to contribute bigger than last year. Like they're going to carry this offense, which is what they're getting paid for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. My laptop is about to die, so I want to get to some of the chat here, David, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one. Come on anytime. All right, let's, like I said, go to the chat because I want to go to the chat every episode, and my laptop is at like 17%. So let me get through this here. Give King the contract, extend King. Yeah, that's not going to, I don't have my hopes up for that. Does he love being with the Padres? Yeah, it seems like it. But he's in the middle of the season. Are the Padres going to offer him $200 million in an extension right now? The answer is no. And if Michael King finishes, top 5 in the Cy Young, what is that contract going to look like? Why would he sign with the Padres if he could just have the Padres be in the bidding maybe, and then he could have other offers as well? So, like, this after this season, this is his time to get that big contract. And he's worked for that. He's earned that right. So, to me, it seems like it's definitely less of a shot than this isn't going to be Jackson Merrill. It's not going to be as easy as Jackson Merrill to get a deal done. I don't think that's going to happen. If it's between Cease and King, maybe it would be Cease. Because King, if he pitches well with that upside, I think if I would have asked this like Cease or King, who's most likely, months ago, I probably would have said King because he doesn't have the track record of Cease and the innings of Cease, but that also could be a positive to teams as well. Bud Black fired tomorrow? No, he's not going anywhere because he doesn't have the plate. Why would you fire Bud Black? What has he done wrong? If there's anyone that should fire someone, Bud Black should have the right to fire, Dick Monfort as the Rockies owner. I know it's not how it works, but like, what did Bud Black do to, deserve this? I know it's one of 30, it's a big league managing job. So Bud Black obviously is going to take that, but that has to suck to be in that situation. Obviously, it's a great job compared to other actual jobs, but you get what I'm saying. Adam says, I was reading about a possible trade with the Yankees for Cease. Ben, have you heard that? No, I have not. That's probably some rumor from the offseason, but no, I have not heard anything about Cease being traded. And why would he be traded when, especially the start the Padres are off to? Yeah, I did see that. Justin Steele out for the season. I don't think they know if it's Tommy John yet, but yeah, elbow. Connor Joe, that's another name as well. Talking about maybe some outfield options. Connor Joe is another one. So we'll see. I think Tirso's played some center field with El Paso. Could be wrong, or maybe I'm mistaking him with Eggy playing some center. But I wouldn't be surprised if they put Tirso there and just, give him some experience. Yeah. Bogaerts' base running's been good. Wade in center field got spun around today, but hauled in the catch. He's an athlete, He's not as good as Lockridge out there, but he also doesn't have the experience that Lockridge has out there, and he's not an outfielder like Lockridge is just fully an outfielder, So we got to give some grace there. It's not as easy as it looks, especially if you don't have a ton of reps out there in center. Just going through the chat here. Yep, Yuki has been amazing. What do you think about leaving Merrill out until Detroit? Is Detroit after Houston? Double checking that real quick. Yeah, to be honest, the way they're playing, I'm fine with leaving him out until they get back to San Diego on the 25th against the Rays. Not saying that they don't need him. Like, he's a great player, but actually, maybe I kind of am saying they don't need him right now. They're 13-3. Can they win this Cubs series without him? Yeah. The Astros are not the Astros of old. The Tigers, postseason contending team. But yeah, they can get through this. And even if they lose one of these upcoming series, okay, then what? Oh man, they're only 9 games over 500. We got the Padres, and they've got to think about the long term here, not just, oh, let's get Merrill back as soon as possible. Can he run? Okay, put him in. No, it's got to be more than that. Yeah, catchers are calling great games too, and I assume that like the Padres, they're trusting Diaz and they're trusting Maldonado to call the game. Why was King throwing 109 pitches on April 13th? Because a lot of them were not high leverage or high stress pitches, I should say that. So 109 pitches with stress is different than 109 pitches without as much stress. He was pitching in 5-0 game, 4-0 game for a lot of it. So I'd say that's part of it. He was being efficient. He earned it. I would have been fine if, like I think I said this way earlier in the show, I would have been fine if they pulled King after 8 innings and just said, yeah, that's it. Great job. But I was also okay that they had him out there for the night. I think they know more about how he's feeling than we do. Thoughts on Shaven Cease? Hopefully he pitches great. I don't really care what their facial hair looks like. It's just if he pitches better without it, then stay shaven. Thank you for that comment. Appreciate it. All right. Coming up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we've got the Cubs in town. Finally, that Aloha giveaway is tomorrow. With all due respect to Don, love you, Don. But I am so tired of watching that Don Aloha shirt giveaway of him on his boat, his mini yacht. You can have this shirt, I'm not quoting him, but you get it. He's just advertising. It's a video of him, and you've probably all seen it, hundreds of times already. Him on his phone, on his mini yacht, like, hey, I'm, wearing my new Aloha shirt. You can get yours Monday, April 14th at, the Padres game. And it's just like, that's what happens when you don't have a TV deal. You don't have actual people, giving you commercials to run. You have Don Orsillo on his iPhone filming from his mini yacht with an Aloha shirt as the giveaway commercial. So happy that that's getting done tomorrow, so we don't have to hear that. Again, love you, Don, but it's getting annoying. But should be pretty good tomorrow. 6:40, Jameson Taillon against Dylan Cease is the pitching matchup. Then Shota Imanaga against Randy Vasquez on Tuesday. That's at 6:40. Then Wednesday's the day game. Matthew Boyd against Nick Pivetta. The Cubs are 10-7 right now, but they're playing the Dodgers. They're tied 2-2 in the 7th on Sunday Night Baseball. So their record will either be 11-7 or 10-8. That's how math works. That's going to be their record going into Petco Park to face the best team in baseball, the San Diego Padres. That's going to do it. Thank you all for the time. Much appreciated, and I'll see y'all later.